I ask you, who is genuinely the greatest Jedi of all time? You might offer a Luke Skywalker, or Yoda, or even Disney Plus newcomer Obi-Wan Kenobi. And those would all be fine choices, of course. But who among us would seriously be quick to say Qui-Gon Jinn? Few, unfortunately, that's who. And that's understandable, but still not forgivable. In the Star Wars films themselves, we don't actually get to see much of Qui-Gon Jinn, it must be said. And that's a damn Neeson shame if you ask me. Had he lived, he could have even possibly saved the galaxy from its dark fate. But of course he did not, and now with all that being said, I am Padawan Gareth, and here are 10 things you never knew about Qui-Gon Jinn. Number 10, Qui-Gon and Mace Windu secretly hated each other. Although Qui-Gon Jinn and Mace Windu were two of the most powerful Jedi plying their trade within the Jedi Order, they didn't really get along that well. Qui-Gon was a non-conformist, so he often bucked the Jedi Council and questioned their wisdom, which obviously went down an absolute treat. Mace, on the other hand, was very much a traditionalist in every sense of the word. He firmly believed in both the Jedi Code and the establishment that was the Jedi Council. Mace, therefore, never questioned orders from the Council, and eventually he became a high-ranking member of the group of layabouts himself. On top of these clashes in viewpoint, Qui-Gon and Mace had personal tension too. Although he never openly admitted it, Qui-Gon felt Mace was cold and arrogant, while Mace also had a rather low opinion of Qui-Gon too. Specifically, Mace felt that Qui-Gon was wrong about the return of the Sith. He also disagreed with Qui-Gon's belief that Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one, as felt and seen in the Skywalker saga throughout. It's worth mentioning too that Qui-Gon was ultimately right on both counts. Advantage Jinn. Number 9, Qui-Gon was empathetic and often took helpless life forms under his wing. One of Qui-Gon's greatest strengths was undoubtedly his relentless empathy. This was a trait that was sadly lacking in his Jedi contemporaries for the most part, seen in the stoic and often lifeless likes of Mace Windu and Yoda. Qui-Gon, on the other hand, was able to put himself in the shoes of others and understand their suffering, even aiding it on occasion too. Due to his empathetic nature, Qui-Gon often took pity on weaker life forms and took them under his wise old wing, much to the annoyance of other Jedi like his one-time master Dooku, for example. The best example of this is Jar Jar Binks, of course. Qui-Gon saved the Gungan and brought him along on his and Obi-Wan's journey throughout the Phantom Menace, despite his Padawan's reluctance to engage with the all-round goofball. Jar Jar was, well, Jar Jar, but Qui-Gon didn't give a damn and was all too happy to help. Number 8, Yoda regarded Qui-Gon as defiant. Qui-Gon had a rather contentious relationship with Yoda. Like all Jedi at the time of the Republic, Qui-Gon was trained by Yoda as a potential-filled youngling. And Qui-Gon, like said many other Padawans in waiting, held the Jedi Master in very high regard indeed. But Qui-Gon's eventual unique view of the Force brought him into many a conflict with Yoda. As he grew as a Jedi, Qui-Gon established a belief in the living Force. And this meant that Qui-Gon was concerned with following the will of the Force at all costs, regardless of it conflicting with what was required of him from the Jedi. Yoda and the other Jedi, however, were more concerned with focusing on, controlling, and predicting the future. Yoda also felt that Qui-Gon's devotion to the living Force was misguided, and even after Qui-Gon's death, Yoda continued to disapprove of his philosophy. It wasn't until the rise of the Sith and the fall of the Galactic Republic that Yoda ultimately acknowledged that Qui-Gon again was correct. And on to something truly good with said living Force theories. Number 7, Qui-Gon had a genius-level intellect. Qui-Gon was an evident deep thinker and master tactician. His intellect rivaled that of Yoda and even the unsettling Sheev Palpatine. But the best evidence of Qui-Gon's sheer genius was undoubtedly his unmatched knowledge of the unexplored and aforementioned living Force. As stated before, other Jedi like Yoda and Mace Windu rejected Qui-Gon's adventurous philosophy, but Qui-Gon's adherence to the living Force gave him insight into truths that the Jedi in general were collectively blind to. Again, Qui-Gon correctly identified Anakin as the chosen one, and he successfully predicted the rise of the almost unstoppable Sith. So had other Jedi listened to Qui-Gon, the Council may have been able to avoid the fall of the Republic and destruction of the Jedi. Shoulda, woulda, coulda though, eh? Number 6, he was the first Jedi to become a Force ghost. Qui-Gon first learned how to become one of the Force ghosts or spirits, whatever you want to call them, seen throughout the wider Star Wars universe from the Force priestesses. This secret knowledge allowed him to become somewhat immortal after he was mercilessly killed by Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon was also the first Jedi to master this all-important skill, or even know of its possibilities, and he eventually learned of this impressive ability because of his aforementioned unwavering devotion to the living Force. After his death, Qui-Gon was therefore able to speak through the Force. He used this skill to guide both Yoda and ObiWan after the destruction of the Jedi. He then taught both Jedi how to become Force spirits themselves, and these teachings were ultimately passed on to Anakin during the closing stages of his time among the living. This knowledge obviously allowed Hayden Christensen to make that weird old cameo at the end of Return of the Jedi. Number 5, he believed that Anakin was the chosen one even after he became Darth Vader. As already alluded to, as soon as he met Anakin, Qui-Gon was sure that the boy would bring balance to the Force. This would therefore eventually fulfill the legendary prophecy of the Chosen One. So before he died, Qui-Gon asked Obi-Wan to train Anakin, defying the wishes of the wary Jedi Council. Classic Qui-Gon. Eventually, Anakin of course fell to the dark side of the Force, and Qui-Gon witnessed all of this from afar as an aforementioned Force spirit, but he did not lose faith. Qui-Gon still believed that Anakin would bring balance to the Force, and through said Force, he was able to see that there was still conflict within the now Darth Vader. Qui-Gon, while others felt all was lost, ultimately knew that Anakin was not beyond redemption. Once again, Qui-Gon was proven right when Anakin sacrificed himself to save his son's damn life. Number 4, he knew there were flaws in the Jedi Code. This Jedi Master was one of the few Jedi known to happily disobey the sacred Jedi Code. He ignored said traditions and laws when he felt it was necessary, and his obeying to the wills of the living Force often put him at odds with both the Jedi Code and Council. An example of this was his heavily documented choice to train Anakin Skywalker. The Jedi Code dictated that a Jedi could not have more than one Padawan at a time, and the Council also specifically forbade Qui-Gon from training this little lad from Tatooine. Both decrees would be laughed off and acted upon in a Force-sensitive middle finger to the establishment. Qui-Gon was willing to ignore both these facts because he felt it was the will of the Force for Anakin to become a Jedi, and eventually the galaxy's biggest bad. There's always a bit of fine print in there, you know? Number 3, he collected all kinds of trinkets. Unlike other Jedi who were forbidden to form attachments with just about anything, Qui-Gon was known to collect small trinkets as it goes. Qui-Gon was even known to have a Mustafar fire diamond. As you've probably guessed, this was a very rare diamond that originated on the fiery planet of, you guessed it, Mustafar! Yep, the same Mustafar that played host to the climactic and galaxy-changing duel in Revenge of the Sith. What a coincidence. Number 2, he had a hard time training Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon had a very close friendship indeed, one much closer than your average master and Padawan, with Qui-Gon eventually saving the young Padawan from becoming a permanent member of the Agricultural Corps, a farmer in other words, in Legends lore. But not before the green saber-wielding master initially declined to take him aboard as his apprentice, due to his over-aggressive fighting style putting him at risk of falling into the dark side. Qui-Gon would eventually see potential in Obi-Wan though, and the two would fatefully unite of course. Kenobi would then go on to become a very powerful Jedi Master in his own right, and a member of the Jedi Council. Hey, 1 out of 2 ain't bad, is it? Obi-Wan didn't inherit his master's rogue spirit though. Like Mace Windu, Obi-Wan was dedicated to the Jedi Code in the days that would follow his early rebelliousness. He often disagreed with his master's rash decisions too, especially when said decisions went against the wishes of the sacred Jedi Council. Number 1, he was offered a seat on the Jedi Council. Despite the tension between Qui-Gon and other Jedi, he was still very well respected within the Order. Throughout the religious organization, Qui-Gon was thought of as a wise and incredibly powerful Jedi. It's no wonder then that Qui-Gon was eventually offered a seat on the Jedi Council. What a day! And it probably wasn't that much of a huge surprise either when Qui-Gon rejected the offer in the end. Even though no other Jedi in his or her right mind would probably turn down a chance to be on the damn council, Qui-Gon felt the need to follow his own path away from the collective establishment. He was more concerned with following the will of the living Force than that of the council, as we've already touched upon. And in all honesty, it was the Jedi Council who should have probably been listening to and taking notes from Qui-Gon instead all along. So that's our list. Know of any other things people never knew about Master Qui-Gon Jinn? Let me know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you're Force sensitive to this sort of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you. Thank you for clicking on this video today, and hopefully I will see you very, very soon. Bye bye.